Week 13 is sort of a vacation for drivers here on iRacing. It's a chance to relax, and as such, it seems fitting that we find ourselves in California. But under the bright West Coast sun and just a few hundred yards away from the beach, it's proven yet again that drivers have no off switch. Because what do they do on a week off? Well, go racing, of course. However, today's exhibition race will be unique in many ways as we get ready to watch the Kamel GT Long Beach 90, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Stefan Schlacher. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This is our very first time getting to race at Long Beach here on the Global Sim Racing channel. And Steph, this is sort of an honor to get to tell our audience about it, so I'll let you do those honors about Long Beach.
And an honor it shall be for me. Well, Joe, this is probably one of the most iconic tracks that isn't on iRacing, or sorta is, I would say. 1.968 miles. F1 have one straight here, not on this exact version. They race a little bit more into the hills that we don't have here. This is obviously the newer version, but the big problems these guys will face is the very bumpy tarmac surface we have there. Not only tarmac, but also concrete tiles that they have to face on the front and back stretches. And it is not only going to be that, but also a lot of off-cambered corners that especially our GTP drivers will have most difficulties to drive around. How difficult is it? Well, you're gonna find out now as we send you onto our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Adam Lindgren in the GSRC Audi, so let's do a lap around Long Beach. Along Shoreline Drive, you're going to gain a whole bunch of speed, but you'll stay flat out through its gentle curve. However, you've got to immediately get the car across to set up for the heavy braking into turn 1. The inside curbs are pretty gentle, so the big worry is simply out-braking yourself. Up next is the tricky fountain section. It's very single file through this narrow and twisty bit of track, so passes are only for evasion or if you're getting desperate. Then you've got a short burst of 4, which has a deceptive curved exit. 5 comes at you quick, and you'll notice some heavy curbing to the inside. Don't cut those. Damage is likely. Now we're back onto Shoreline, heading the opposite way, and we get a small breather. In the right circumstances, you can get a chance to pass into 6. Interestingly, this is one of the few places where you get some elevation change with a little rise on your way towards 8. But 8 is also one of the more important corner exits you'll come across. Seaside Way is the next longest acceleration zone after the pit straight. Everybody's going to be hungry for an overtake, but everybody also knows it, so there's probably going to be some robust defense and attack on your way into 9. Now is when the track gets technical again, rapidly switching direction. This takes you to the infamous hairpin. It's not tough simply for just being slow and tight, but that curved entry makes it very awkward on your way in. Get back on the throttle as soon as you can for the front stretch, or else you'll be incredibly vulnerable back down to 1. But hopefully, if you've kept it together, you've now finished a lap around Long Beach. A lap around Long Beach, and with 90 minutes worth, obviously qualifying is going to be very important, but we'll get to that in just a second because it's just kicked off for the GTO class. Before that, let's tell you about the race itself today. As the name implies with the Long Beach 90, it is 90 minutes long today, so an hour and a half that we will be out there on the surface. Now, the setups are open, just like they are in the official racing. This isn't official racing, though. This is a special event that the community has set up themselves. The fuel is unrestricted, which means 1 pit stop, but it will be a little bit close for the prototypes. We'll go over that in a little bit. There is no incident cap that they've set up, and they do have a spare car, unlike what they experience in the official racing. The reason they've done that is because they haven't run this track in quite a while on week 13. They decided they want to give drivers a chance, even if they have an unfortunate incident on the very first lap, which is awful kind of them. Make sure everybody gets to enjoy themselves. Looking down at the qualifying, we've just finished up the GTP qualifying, and Justin Albrecht has the provisional pole there. And Steph, we're waiting for the GTO cars to just put the times in for their first lap.
Yeah, and it is going to be interesting not only to see how are the GTOs able to take this track. Obviously, they have got the four-wheel drive, so they are not going to struggle that much out of the very off-camber corners here. But we're going to see how much of a lap difference there is in time between. Who now we have the first time in Reed Miller 19.9, and Justin Albright to put in a 112.1. So 7 seconds, nearly 8 seconds difference right now between them. But there's only a second difference between the slowest GTP and Reed Miller.
We'll see Andrew Baki manages to get himself onto the front row for now. I love this paint scheme that he's put on his Audi, actually. This is a great little homage to Jeff Gordon, of course. Now, one of the things that I mentioned there was the fuel. In these Audis, it's a little bit more open. They tend to be able to go quite longer. The traditional theory has been for the Nissans, most tracks they can get a little over 50 minutes. Now, this isn't what I would consider traditionally a thirsty track, but it is very stop-start, Steph. So, I mean, thoughts on that? I have to imagine it's going to narrow up the window at the very least, right?
A little bit. It's not really too much of a problem in the GTO because you have always that power available. You're not gonna waste too much of full throttle fuel potential in slow speed. I'm much more worrying about the GTPs and their fuel window because of how easy they have to be on the throttle, how it is gonna probably even widen up the pit window that they have available because of how much they're going to be spending off the throttle or at half throttle rather than being full blow on the metal.
Now, I'm looking and I'm seeing a name in the prototypes, and I'm wondering if the Peanut Gallery can chime in. We have Alberto Moreno. Wasn't he an IndyCar driver in the real world? Is he on iRacing? Or am I mistaken here? Am I thinking of the wrong one? Well, so we'll have to check to see if that is actually Alberto Moreno out there who is going to be competing with us today. If so, very cool, because I grew up watching him on television. Now, right now, Adam Lindgren is our provisional pole sitter. He's managed to top Reed Miller on his first time lap with a 1:19.404. Very tight between himself and Reed because Reed's is a 1:19.445. He's just coming across for another lap now, and he ups it to a 1:18. That is a huge jump for the number 17. So he responds with aplomb to Adam Lindgren.
Now, Joe, I have to disappoint you a little bit. The Moreno that you're thinking about is Robert Moreno.
That's what I was thinking of. Okay.
However, Albert Moreno is a Spanish football player, or soccer for you. So we might have a football player in here.
All right, we'll have to check and see if that's the case as the drivers continue to work their way around. You can see we have a lot of cones up around this track to try and to note where the track limits are. One place, though, I don't think they necessarily need the cones. Turn 5, there's different curbs there, and it seems that I've already watched in the practice that is a real danger zone for at least the prototypes. I've seen some big damage occur if they go over there. So I think with the GTO, is that also a bit of a worry? Is it the car low slung enough it could damage the underside?
It is most definitely. The problem much more will be about the bumps themselves on this, especially the front straight. And most definitely that really slow, really tight hairpin at the very end, because these GTOs, they have a very big circle to drive around.
Just a little under 3 minutes left to go as we watch for Colin, who sits 5th for the moment in qualifying. Probably one of the signature turns of this track. Oh, as he scrapes the wall coming off of the hairpin. Incredibly tight through there. Steph, they've even given instructions on the start that they don't want the leader to go before the green flag because they want the field to be able to pack up because apparently they can only just barely get through there with slight overlap between the cars. They're going to kind of have to stagger them. So it'll be interesting to see if they listen, whoever winds up on the pole. Well, I guess Justin Albrecht is on the pole. Or, exactly how that's going to work out here.
It makes sense. I mean, these are old-style cars. I don't think they ever raced here in real life. Did they also race with this version of the hairpin?
They did indeed.
There used to be a wider version of this hairpin too. That's what I'm thinking. You know what? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter for what I'm trying to point out here. Both of these cars have huge turnaround circles. It is what it is. And they need alone nearly the full width of the track, which means in the race itself, GTOs will be held up by GTPs out of that last turn because this is so slow and so tight.
I believe the GTO cars were the ones that raced here because they didn't actually race these two cars together in the real world. They only raced separately. As we watch Darren Kuhn now, who's managed to get himself into 8th, and that's a good example of what you were just talking about, Steph, how wide he had to go just to squeeze around there.
Yeah, I mean, these cars did race together, but only in the very big endurances like Daytona and those sort of stuff, like the 12 and 24-hour races. But yeah, it is a misconception about the GTO and GTP era of IMSA. Note the only very, very few races over the full 6-year period that these both classes existed at the same time, they actually raced together per season. Those were only limited to 3 or 4 occasions in a 12-race calendar.
Just about less than 30 seconds left to go. Andrew trying to improve on his 5th place. He's got a 120.6, and he doesn't think he's going to be able to improve. He pulls off and abandons his lap. It is still Reed Miller up at the top. Franco Scurry has returned to the series and has managed to put himself on the front row. Also see that Lindgren is still out there as now the checkered flag comes out. Antonio Rodriguez crosses with his first timed lap, which is good enough for 10th. Unfortunately for Colin, will be 7th as he finishes up. And it looks like Darren Kuhn going to be the next one around.
Yeah, and right now 6 seconds between GTP leader versus the GTO leader in lap times, as Kuhn is over the start-finish line, and that was a fast run for him, only by 10th. Stays in the same place there.
Lindgren not able to get it off the second row, unfortunately. He does not improve on his last time. Simo Raba down in 9th. He's coming around to see what he can knock out. Across the start-finish line, looks like that one didn't count. Must have had an off somewhere around here. Same thing with Franco Scurry, who stays in 2nd, but is on the front row. A nice day for him. That completes our qualifying. So our grid is set for today. It's going to be a fascinating one here for the Long Beach 90, an exhibition race for the Kamel GT series. And your pole sitter, who we didn't get to watch, unfortunately, but certainly put in a great time, was Justin Albrecht. He will be right next to Riku Alatalo, who will return not in the GTOs as we're used to seeing him in, but on the front row of the GTPs. Then in 3rd, it is Timu Toika starting next to Fabian Gerber, multi-time champion, beside him. That is an exciting 2nd row, especially here at the start. Rob Olenek will be behind them on the inside of row 3, starting P5. Yari Lotari will be 6th today, with Hugh Haycock starting in P7. Tapani Linuluoto returns. We haven't seen him in a while, but known fast driver here, will be 8th. Nicholas Mukanos comes up to the GTPs as well. He'll be 9th. Martin Krejcik starts in P10 with Heitor Sintes Guindo in 11th place. Ian Haycock starts 12th today. Clayton McLeod will be P13. Alberto Moreno will be in 14th. James Stone qualified a little bit slow, and I'm not sure if he's going to be gridded amongst the Audis, but he's in 17th overall, and Gabriel Lanini looks like he did not put a time in as well. Let's go to the GTO. Steph?
Reed Miller will take the green flag first of the GTO field. Alongside him will be Franco Scorri. And as far as I am looking at the grid, James Stone will actually start among the GTO field. Daniel Sadro, 4th place, went to him. Andrew Back, 5th. James King, 6th. Julie Forcolin, 7th. Darren Kuhn, 8th. Simo Rabat, 9th. And Antonio Rodriguez brings up the rear of the GTO field in 8th place.
Well, hopefully they'll allow and clear any black flags that James Stone gets if he tries to go ahead of the Audis. Don't want to see him have to try and deal with that, as it looks like Teemu Toika with a lovely classic scheme on his Nissan. A lot of these drivers like to have vintage paint schemes to match the vintage cars. Waiting for the Mustang pace car to take off here on the back stretch down on Seaside Way. They'll head through the last few corners. They'll try and squeeze around that hairpin. The pace car will take off into the pit lane and the green flag will come out. This is going to be a very tricky race. Attrition expected to play a part, Steph, no doubt, with the walls being so close all around.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. It's a fast circuit, it's a bumpy circuit, it's a narrow circuit on some parts, and if you try to do something a little bit too much into some turns, you might really screw yourself up, as now also the GTOs drive away from the field, from the grid. So yeah, we are most definitely set to get this on the way.
And if you're looking at the surroundings and wondering what's going on, if you're just joining us again, this is a tech track here on iRacing. So it is not a completed track. It's not usually, or it isn't used for official racing. As they come out of the hairpin, everybody trying to pack up carefully behind the pace car. Justin Albrecht has control. He's waiting for that green flag, obeying the steward's orders. You can see the GTOs as well trying to pack up back there. Green flag now waves. Justin Albrecht is off in his Nissan, and he gets a good jump over Riku Alatalo, but the Glacier Racing driver already looking for a slot to the inside as he swings to the left. They come down into turn 1. And so far, so good. But what about the exit of the corner? Mid-corner looks like we got a spinner. That's Hugh Haycox. Everybody able to get around as the GTO's got a big pile up, unfortunately. Looks like for Colin involved in that. I see Adam Lindgren with big damage, and we got Darren Kuhn getting into Hugh Haycox down in the fountain section.
Oh, Hugh Haycox wins again. Oh, that's Adam Rowe. Hard into the barrier. That is his race completely done now. Franco Scorri also got damage from all of that kerfuffle.
Bit of a messy start for sure, but not for Justin Albrecht. Riku Alatalo still hot on his heels as they come through turn 9 for the first time. Look at the sliding going on. We haven't mentioned it, but it is hot on the track surface, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Onto the front stretch, everybody trying to find that grip as they get the throttle down.
Yeah, after all of that, Daniel Sadro leading in your GTO field ahead of James King and Franco Scorri as they come into the last corner in racing speed for the first time.
He's got a decent gap ahead of King, that is for sure. Really, the close fight for the lead is still in the GTPs. We watch Alatalo try and chase down Albrecht coming up through turn 5 now. One of the places where potentially you could get a good exit, but certainly Riku did not as he squirms on the throttle. That denies him a chance down into turn 6. They'll get another shot as they come down Seaside Way, the backstretch here, Steph.
Yeah, and he's really putting on the pressure, and we know that Justin Albrecht is very good in holding the pressure and keeping that pressure valve at a decent size opening, so he can always make some mistakes and little mistakes that normally are Tyler with a little bit of a slide there, and that's exactly what I'm meaning. He can vent those pressures off by leading the guys behind him into mistakes that they are not very able to get back up again.
You can see behind these two, From third on back, got a bit of a train. Timu Toika is at the end of the podium, and he's got Fabian Gerber, Jari Lotari, and Rob Olenek not too far behind, giving chase. From there, we have another big gap in that GTP field.
Yeah, the battle from 7 on down is really on too between Elina Luoto, Krejcik, and Mukanos right now. But Elina Luoto is starting to drive away a little bit from Krejcik, who is under immense pressure off Mukanos, just like Albrecht is from Alatalo.
Shocking to see Elina Luoto still down in 7th, considering he usually fought for wins in the past. He and Keith Ritchie having a notorious rivalry in this series before, fighting for championships and victories. Apparently the talent level has been upped since he last showed here.
Yeah.
Let's head down for the battle for second though here, Steph.
Yeah, that battle really on. Francescuri, after getting that damage lap 1, turn 1, he is starting to get back into his groove and really now endangering James King of losing his second place here. Look at how much speed he's carrying already down the straight. Has to back down again though, and probably only a matter of time until James King has to succeed his second place.
And something weird is going on in the prototypes. Riku Alatalo, who was in second place, has come into the pits. I'm not entirely sure what's caused this because he didn't hit anything that I could see at least.
He is taking tires right now. Maybe he forgot to switch to race fuel?
You know, that could be. That's as good a guess as any. Unless he already thinks he can't make it on one stop and is electing to go for a 2-stopper, which, again, we didn't think would be that tight. Let's go to second then, because Timu Toika now promoted to that. And Fabian Gerber is giving chase, but he's got some pressure from behind. It's the other Glacier Racing driver, Jari Lotari, looking to see if he can get onto the podium in his 7.65.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that Gerber, who we saw last season completely dominate the series, he's third place right now, fourth place, disregarding the pit of Alatalo. It's not where we used to see him, like, ever in the past, I would say 2 years of him racing here.
Yeah, certainly not. As we watch Gerber give chase on Toika. Oh, and Toika's into the wall. They have to take evasive action. That's going to slow up Gerber. Here comes Lotari looking to the inside. Not quite close enough, but that was a hard smack for the orange machine of Timu Toika. Let's look at it one more time.
Yeah,
he did hit flush.
Yeah, the thing here is that is one of the off-camber corners and very bumpy on the entry and the middle of the turn, and I'm thinking that did caught Toika a little bit out there. Let's see if he elects to drive into pit lane or waits for his pit window to open. Struggling to put a tire down, but he drives past.
Still, Gerber now in second, Lotari in third. Let's take a look at our leader in the GTOs. Pretty much running all on his lonesome. It is 8 seconds down to Franco Scurry, who himself is Scurry. He must be dealing with some damage because Reed Miller, who is a lap down from him, just passed him with ease.
Yeah, that is from lap 1, turn 1, where he got pushed into the tire barrier by Satter, avoiding you haycocks. Yeah, very unfortunate situation for him, but as we can see, he is still able to continue. Does not have a meatball flag, as Justin Albrecht for the very first time is hitting GTO traffic.
And that has slowed him up enough that, oh, well, no, this is Rico Alatalo, who's a lap down after his pit stop. So he came out right with the leader, but unfortunately no longer fighting for position. Instead, trying to get his lap back. Simo Raba, the first one to get lapped by those two. Up next is going to be Antonio Rodriguez.
This means quite a lot though. Rico Alatalo, he did pit out right ahead of Fabian Gerber. So that means, even though this is a battle not on track right now, it is a battle on track right now at the same time. Because Rico Alatalo, if he gets past Justin Albrecht here, he will get past Justin Albrecht in the pit stop. So it is not only a battle on track and a virtual, but this is very important as Olenek is in pit lane.
He is, but Jari Lotari and Fabian Gerber seem to have had an issue in turn 5. It looks like this was with Simo Raba in front of them. Gerber having to slow up, and I think Lotari is a little bit unsighted here. Toika involved in it once again.
Yeah, Lotari didn't see a single thing there. That was very awkward for everyone involved.
On top of that, they got caught by the pack being led by Tapani Linnaluoto, as Fabian Gerber having to check up to make sure he doesn't get into the back of him. Look at, wow, it is just an accordion through the Kanos and Kratrick as well, having nowhere to go, but following down the front stretch along Shoreline Drive. Linda Luoto looks a little bit down on top speed as Gerber starts to gain, but he runs out of racetrack as they break for turn 1.
I tell you, another battle that is still hot is the one between Alatalo and Justin Albrecht. It's incredible how much Alatalo is fighting to get past Justin Albrecht and how much Justin Albrecht is defending to keep him behind.
They know something we don't about these pit stops, because we expected it to be a one-stopper for them, and I don't think that he could be able to get there from here where there's still 80 minutes left on the clock. Now more traffic in front of them. That's Baki and Lindgren. They're not battling for positions though. They are on different laps. They're going to be caught as they come down into the technical first section of the track, not where Albrecht wants to be behind them. Oh, no, and he gets tipped by Alatalo. Manages not to hit the barrier, but where is Toika? He's a long ways back. Let's look at the replay. He's not going to get past. He's able to get going without losing the lead. Anticipating the traffic, he slows up early, but Alatalo does not.
Alatalo just ran out of room there. I think he didn't see how close Albrecht was to the GTO traffic ahead of him, as now both of them cleared Julia for Colin. And yeah, it is going to be interesting now what that means all the way down the road when Justin Albrecht next makes his pit stop.
Now, did we recently have a change for position in GTOs? Because I see that Scurry is ahead of King. It wasn't recent, just checked. But I think we might have the replay. We're seeing if we can dig it up. But yes, Franco Scurry, as you can see, leading James King. Let's see where exactly this pass happened.
I'm having my suspicions with turn 1. Let's see if I'm right. Nope, totally not. Where is that? That is coming out of the Fountain section.
Yeah, that's it looked like King clipped that inside curve that we were worried about. And with the bad exit, Scurry said thank you very much and snatched it away. As we come back live, that changes our podium, which is well ahead of the next car back, Andrew Backey. Ways to go in this race, and you can tell drivers now getting very mixed up amongst one another. Justin Albrecht very in the thick of the GTO traffic as he goes by Adam Lindgren. Only gets a little bit of a breather though.
And Joe, the battle for third place really closed in for GTP there. Lotari versus Gerber. Gerber under very much pressure by Lotari, but Lotari sticks behind once again as they enter the last 3 turns.
Indeed, that down down Seaside Way into turn 9. They come through the hairpin on a Shoreline Drive. Wow, look at these cars really try to find the power. Such a slow corner, a weakness for this Nissan. Still, Latari able to stay within the slipstream as they come down towards turn 1. Keeping the pressure on. They're not too far behind Teemu Toika, we should mention. So I don't know if they want to battle too much here, Steph.
Oh, Alatalo just spun and disconnected.
That is a shame. Let's take a look at the replay, see where this was. Let's see, was this turn 5 yet again?
Yes, it was. He's gonna spin it right on the power, and then that is what you call a rage quit.
Oh, that is unfortunate. He was fast, just a little bit out of the runnings with his early pit stop. So we come back live still on Gerber, dealing with the pressure from Jari Lotari. They get ever closer to Teemu Toika, who we believe has some pretty bad damage, not only from hitting the tire barrier, but running into the back of these two a little bit earlier. Through no fault of his own, we should clarify. He goes by the car of Adam Lindgren, still running in 7th.
To be fair, all three cars have quite some damage on their rear and fronts, so yeah, it's not going to be too much of a hassle for Toika because the cars behind him are also damaged, but it is going to be a little bit harder to stay ahead in that sequence.
That was a great heads up by Latari. Came into the corner, and Lindgren as well, who stayed wide to let all three of those prototypes through, knowing that they are battling for position. Now they deal with James King, third place driver in the GTOs. Toika gets by with ease. Now down onto Seaside Way, both of them sneaking through. James King allowing them by. Again, great heads up by our Audi drivers today. But here comes Latari with a big head of steam, but not enough racetrack as the straight is just a little bit too short.
Seems like for these cars that is the story so far. The straights are long, but not long enough.
Man, it is a minefield out there trying to weave through this slower class. Doing a great job with it thus far. Onto the front stretch, Latari just not close enough to try and attack on Fabian Gerber down into turn 1. They're still giving chase to Toika, which is for second place. Albrecht has been the class of the field today, really. Even with his incident with Alatalo, he is still about 8.5 seconds up on the field. You can see, despite being tipped around, pretty clean Nissan. Sounds like the battle for second getting ever closer down in the GTOs though, Steph.
Yeah, James King has closed in on Frank Scurry again. That is part to the great driving of James King, but also part to how the traffic is affecting Scurry. And now that is one close battle here between James King. Can he do something into turn 9? No, has to stick back.
He was certainly gaining on Seaside Way. Look at the car sliding around. Temperature has not changed much. It is still about 103 degrees on the track surface. You know, you would think that... Go ahead.
Krejcik might play a part here as he will go past both of them. James King might be able to sneak up some draft from Krejcik. Let's see if that is happening. No, it's not, but look at the head of steam of James King. Has to stick back once again, though.
Oh, but he overshoots it. Franco Scurry into the tire barrier, knocks it down. That's going to allow Adam Lindgren to get a lap back on him, too. But a critical mistake for the Italian.
Honestly, I have to say, I didn't see that one coming from Scurry. Maybe he did release the brake a little bit too much too early because he was braking earlier than James King and still ran into that barrier.
You can see the severe damage on Scurry's car. That could also be affecting the way that it's handling. Maybe something knocked out and one of the tires getting heated up a little bit too quickly. King now stretching away because of that mistake to a 4-second gap, but he is nowhere near our leader. If you think it was a big gap in the GTPs, listen to this. Sadro leads by 20 seconds right now.
Yeah, Sadro is a great driver in these cars. Oh, James King just got turned.
I saw the same thing you did. That was Sintes Galindo trying to lap him through the hairpin. We're going to look at the replay.
Well, you could say, though, that that was the fastest time through the hairpin for a GTO, because you can't make that turn much tighter.
Sintes Galindo, as we come back live, has decided to exit. I'm not sure if he got too much damage from that or what, but he does not want to continue for today.
Scurry is in pit lane, taking tires right now, about 20 minutes into race, thereabouts. Now finished with the tires and is driving off again. We're expecting the pit lane delta for the GTOs to be around the 50-second mark, and as we have seen with Riku Alatalo earlier, the pit lane delta for the GTPs is about a full lap, so 1 minute and 12 seconds for the GTPs.
No surprise that Scurry would come in so early. I imagine that car, as banged up as it was, he wanted to come in and take his spare car, get back out there with a clean one, see what kind of fast laps he can set. Other than the GTP traffic, he's got the track to himself as well. Back to Teemu Toika. In spite of all the dramas that the number 4 has experienced, Fat Teemu is still in second place and leading Lotari, who is ahead of Gerber. Has that changed position, actually? No, Lotari was ahead of Gerber before,
yeah.
I believe.
Pretty sure it was.
Whoa! And was that Scurry?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, well, he is having all sorts of trouble getting the car woed up today. He hits the tires a second time. Third time, actually, rather.
First time he was assisted, though, we have to hand it to him. But yeah, really weird day from Frankie Scurry. You don't see him often to make mistakes like that, especially multiple times in a race.
Damage looks pretty minimal this time on the front left, so maybe he'll be able to get away with it, as long as he didn't damage the suspension. Lenulowoto gonna go on by. Puts another lap on the Italian. Things are starting to spread out, and from here, I guess everybody, Steph, mostly going to be focusing on their own efforts, just try and survive this thing.
Survive, trying to save tires, trying to save fuel, stuff like that, as James King now gets overtaken by Clayton McLeod. That was a lapping maneuver. But yeah, as I said, the cars are starting to spread out. Some pit stop strategies are starting to take place, and we're all gonna see how that is gonna play out at the end of the race.
So we take a look at Clayton McLeod down in 8th position. All of our GTP drivers, I believe, are still on the lead lap, other than Hugh Haycox, who was multiple laps down. Remember, he was one of the ones that had some serious incidents on lap 1. But from 1st to 11th, our prototypes are all still managing to be racing on the same lap. Speaking of Olenek in 11th, he's on a run back through. Make it 10th now. Alberto Moreno has to give the spot away. Next on Olenek's hit list, going to be Ian Haycox. That's about 3 seconds up the road.
And Ian Haycox has a little bit of damage, which Olenek does not have. So Olenek most definitely will have a bit of a pace advantage there on that next overtake.
I'd say so, because it's already down to 2 seconds. Granted, They're dealing with traffic, which could be playing with it. You can see just how thick it is in there. That's James King and Adam Lindgren between them. We're watching the green number 32 of Ian Haycox in 9th position as he tries to stretch away while Olenek deals with this traffic.
Not really getting away, is he now, Ian Haycox? As Rob Olenek makes the way past, he only lost 2 seconds there on Ian Haycox, who now has to lap Simo Raba into turn 9, does so effectively on the brakes.
Haycox doing his best with what he's got. He probably knows that Olenek is fast, considering he qualified ahead of him. Way deep into the hairpin corner, though, for Ian Haycox. Coming back out of it and onto Shoreline Drive. Seeing more drivers come into the pits. I saw Reed Miller duck in there as we were watching this battle.
Oh, James King just crashed!
Our second place driver, and he has to take a tow.
Oh, that was an incredibly awkward situation between himself and Alberto Moreno. Moreno spinning ahead of him because of the triple lag and nowhere to go for James King.
Absolutely just clouded him, unfortunately. And this is a case where, well, James King was trying to use the Ferrucci method of just pin it and hope you can get past the wreck. It bit him. Let's see the replay. There we go. So be coming out of the hairpin.
You know what?
Looks like we weren't able to pull that one up, unfortunately.
The thing is, I'm not sure if that really was turbo lag or it was a combination of too much throttle or too much wheel spin and the bumps out of the hairpin, because Moreno was probably already quite a bit down. Oh, Sandro just crashed into the turn 1 tire wall.
Wow,
what is going on?
Oh, you know what? Franco Scurry was stopped there, and he tried to avoid him. He just barely nudged it. Great heads up from Sadro. Locked him up, made sure that he didn't destroy the car, and he retains his lead. Boy, Sadro probably glad he's had as big of a lead as he does. With some of our drivers retiring, though, this means that Andrew Backey is now in second, albeit 31 seconds down, and Darren Kuhn gets promoted to the podium in third. Oh, and we just missed the pass between Olenek and Haycox. Looks like that one happened on Seaside Way.
That was actually Ian Haycox pulling over and letting Rob Olenek past. So Haycox, knowing what is going on with his car versus the other ones, and just letting him drive by.
We saw the writing on the wall. The writing said, give the position up to Rob Olenek, who is now into 9th. Going to be a little bit longer of a run for the next one. 5 seconds up to Clayton McLeod in 8th position. And then from there, he's really going to have to hustle, because it is nearly 20 up to 7th place, Martin Krejcik. No surprises that we've been having a topsy-turvy race here at Long Beach, our first ever broadcast at this track. Now, what's happening to Moreno? Oh, he's in the pits here.
Oh, Toyka into the wall.
And that loses him second place. In fact, it loses him third as well. And that was Backey that we saw at the side of the road.
Team Toyka, it's gonna happen into turn 1. You can see him there, and just brakes too late, too much head of steam into the tire wall, hard hit sideways into it, and that surely has to be quite some damage to his car.
He's definitely got to come in for a spare car now. You could see just how wrecked that machine is. Ilari Latari moves up into second, and Fabian Gerber into third.
Actually, Lotari was already in second place ahead of that mistake.
Interesting. Not sure when he got by. As we watch Daniel Sadro look to get lapped by Ian Haycox. Ian playing very patient here. He doesn't have anybody to fight with. Now he's going to go through in turn 5. No, he's not. He's going to nose it into the tires. Oof. Little bit offline. Boy, that really shows how difficult it is when you're off the grippy racing line here.
Honestly, that was just Ian Haycox messing up his braking point. He was braking where you normally turn into turn 5. And yeah, really pays the price there with that mistake. And I can also update you on the overtake of Lotari between, for that second place Lotari. That happened about 4 laps ago now, down Ocean Drive. I think we might actually have the replay of that.
Here's Lotari. We're looking for an orange car.
Already in second place there.
That's actually where he passes Gerber, it looks like. Interesting. So we come back live. Didn't get to see the pass over over Toyka, but even still. Also, a quick update. I mentioned that Andrew Backey was in the fountain section. He's able to get it going and does not lose second place. He's still about 10 seconds ahead of Darren Kuhn. We talk about old school flavor with these races. These gaps between the cars definitely make it feel like an old school race when you certainly had a lot of separation, but the unpredictability kept the excitement alive. Speaking of unpredictability, drivers who are missing from this race, if you're just joining us, Sintes Guindo is retired, Riku Alatalo is gone, Julio Vercolen, Reed Miller, Gabriel Lanini, and James Stone are all out of this race. 20 drivers are still running. Our leader definitely still running. Justin Albrecht now up to 11.5 seconds over Jari Lotari. We talked about Justin wanting to get a psychological edge coming into the next season to try and challenge Fabian Gerber as he now tries to lap both Audis and Ian Haycox up ahead of him in his own class. But this will be a nice little feather in the cap of Justin if he could bring this one home. He is well ahead of Fabian Gerber, and he's been working incredibly hard, Steph, to try and get some speed and prove that he can take the challenge to the multi-time champion.
Yeah, it does seem so right now, as Lotari gets held up by Adam Lindgren out of turn 5, giving Gerber a bit of an opportunity to get closer to that second place of Lotari.
So as we go over to Lindgren and check on his race as he tries to come back forward. Again, one of the victims of that first lap melee in the GTOs. He's up to 5th. Is he on the same lap as Sadro, though? I believe he is. Still top 5 considering what he went through. Not going to be a bad result. So we pop over to the prototypes. This is Nick Mukanos. This is not a battle for position. That's Hugh Haycox, excuse me, trying to get his laps back. And as we watch this, we have one of our retirees ready to talk to us. Unfortunately, it was our pole sitter, Reed Miller, who has now joined us in the booth. Sad to see, Reed, that it was a short race for you, considering how quick of a lap you were able to run. What are your thoughts on what happened at the start?
Well, I think I made a mistake by moving too close. I even said on the mic, like, I'm going to leave him lots of space, and then I just didn't. Once you start going, then you can't, like, there wasn't much space to hold everyone back, and I kind of knew we'd be driving into something, And yeah, I'm just kind of sitting here reflecting on that, my head in my hands, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sad to see you not get to join in on the fun, but it's been a bit since the Camel Series has run a Long Beach race in week 13. Are you happy to see it back? Would you like to see a repeat come next week 13?
I really enjoyed it. This is the first time I've actually raced here, and I thought the track is phenomenal. It's got lots of tricks, like lots of little elevation changes, which I think is really fun in a street circuit. Yeah, I'd love to see racing here again.
Well, similarly to our next track in the official schedule, Sebring, this is a very bumpy one. Do you now kind of set your sights off to the first race of the season, see if you can kick things off in style and maybe get a championship run going?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Always focusing on the next season, looking forward to it, of course. I love Sebring.
Oh, and just as you were talking about that, we saw Lotari have an incident out of turn 5. That's going to gift second place to Fabian Gerber. Yari, unfortunately, with big damage, hitting the wall a few times there.
Hey, guess what? It's the Turbo Lag once again greeting you on an off-cambered exit, and that is just what is happening to you. He's fighting so hard for that control over the car, but no, says the computer and goes into the tire and to the concrete wall.
Ah, boy, a lot of drivers experiencing some contact with the concrete. Well, Reed, sad to see you unfortunately out early, but glad to get to talk to you, and we look forward to Sebring.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you later.
There's Reed Miller, a pole sitter, DNF'd already as we watch Lotari decide to pass up on the pit stop. Now, we have the pass that we missed as we were talking to Reed between Olenek and McLeod. This is for 7th position. Let's take a look at this.
Yeah, and actually was a great overtake by Olenek into turn 9. There we can see there's GTO on the right side, not a problem for them, and just Olenek way late brakes and gets past Clayton McLeod with ease.
This is an admirable drive from the Toyota. The way that Olenek has been dealing with his setback. He's now up to 7th. Now, again, it's going to be a lot longer up to the next car with about 17 seconds up to Mukanos. But you talk about chipping away. This number 21, Steph, I am very impressed.
Most definitely, Rob is putting the hammer down. He is, I think, even holding the fastest lap right now with a 13.8. Might be wrong about that. But either way, it just shows how much you can do with keeping the car clean, keeping or knowing what is going to happen to your car over all these bumps, and still being able to pull off a drive like he is, knowing all of that is nearly a miracle as he goes now past Antonio Rodriguez to put him another lap down. And
sorry, on screen, we just watched Krejcik clout the wall coming out of the hairpin right as he's being chased by Mukanos. This is for position, a top 5 under threat. Let's take a look at the replay. This is on board with Krejcik. Oh, there it is.
Honestly, I have to say he didn't touch the wall for me, so yeah, I have to see if something pops up on my screen damage-wise. But either way, it did put Mukanos into a very favorable position coming out of turn 5, not able to put enough power down and still has to stay behind Krejcik.
Mukanos pushing hard. They come up towards Seaside Way here, one of the more critical turns. Look at the difference in line between the two drivers as Mukanos, I think himself, nearly brushed the tires coming out of there, getting it awful close. As this is happening, let's stay with this, but Justin Albrecht, our leader, is in the pits, I think taking a scheduled stop. This is where we saw what could have been contact last time through for Krejcik. This time he definitely stays off the wall, but he is very slow through there. So Gerber is now our leader as they swing by Albrecht, who's still in the pits. He's coming out now. Krejcik's going to have some traffic, and Adam Lindgren in the fountain section, not quite caught up to him yet. maybe out of turn 5, they'll catch him at a nice spot. Oh, not with wheel spin like that. No, maybe with wheel spin like that. Krejcik ducks it off to the right. Adam Lindgren lets him through. No change for position. Hugh Haycox, you see at the tail of the train, is not for position himself. He is, again, I repeat, laps down. He's trying to wait patient to make sure that he doesn't interrupt this interesting battle.
You know, the problem that these guys are facing is that the turns mostly are off camber. We can't say this enough. Plus, the straights aren't long enough for the very marginal slipstream that these cars have to actually take some effect. Plus, on top of that, because of all these off-cambered cars, they can't really put the power down when they need it, nor can they brake enough to really outbrake someone because the braking zones here are not hard enough.
Speaking of which, they break down into turn 1, and I can report that Justin Albrecht returns to the track in 5th place, but we believe should be able to go to the end of the race from here. Yeah, it wasn't under threat before from Fabian Gerber, who was in 2nd, now is in the lead. Wow, Hugh Haycox had a bit of trouble there off of 5.
Following a little bit too close and nearly messing himself up, but a great save by him, stays at the back of the pack. And I'm starting to think that Hugh Haycox could actually drive faster than both Mukanos and Krejcik.
At this point, he's so many laps down, though, I'm not sure that he really sees any point in trying to. I think he's just rifling off the laps. There we see the traditional Jaguar paint scheme on Hugh's car. Makes sense for a British driver. Oh, and wow, that's twice he tried to find the throttle. Twice the car tried to get away from him. I think now he's got it under control, but even still, a lot of time. Oof, Krejcik dealing with some traffic down into turn 1. So was Mukanos. They went by Simo Raba, who stayed out of the way, but certainly caused a bit of a complication. Oh, and who was that? Just clouded the wall. That was Krejcik. Once again, the tires contact on the left side coming out of turn 5.
Yep, can confirm also on my screen that was a little bit of damage to or hit to the tire walls, but I don't see any damage right now, neither on the stream nor on my screen.
I'll tell you what, with the whoa, as Krejcik nearly gets into the back of Darren Kuhn, trying to lap the Audi, tiptoeing around the outside, and then that becomes the inside of the hairpin. Kuhn's going to let all 3 of them through. But with the length, the history of this track, the marshals have had a chance to really get some practice, and they are so good at getting these cones back in place. So a big round of applause to our virtual marshals who have been replacing them tirelessly out there.
Quite literally too, because they have to run to those tires. Cones. God damn it. Screwed up myself. As, yeah, Krejcik, he's starting to run into a little bit of troubles here. Maybe did overheat his tires or something like that, because Mukanos really getting close to you. Hey, Cox, what a dive bomb on Mukanos. Probably accidental, but still.
Small apologies for the language, but Krejcik very much has been under pressure. Every time Mukanos getting close, he certainly seems to lose out just at that critical moment. And then there's poor Hugh Haycox again, just not able to do anything, not willing to do anything, but certainly probably getting a little bit frustrated, hoping they would try and speed up.
Krejcik right out sideways when putting down the power. Or was it just the angle of attack there on the camera? Either way, Krejcik still ahead of Mukanos, and he's starting to once again put a little bit of a gap between himself and Mukanos as he makes a mistake into turn 1 on the braking. and completely erodes that gap.
You know, Krejcik can get to the end from here. I'm surprised he doesn't come in pit, maybe get some tires, get back out there, but maybe he's afraid of the overcut as Mukanos nearly gets run into by Hugh Haycox. This has been one of the best fights that we've had. It was for 5th at one point. It should still be for 5th once pit stops happen. Oh, there it goes.
Oh!
And he gets tipped around by Hugh in a big fashion.
Yeah, that was one of the most awkward turbo legs ever, because instead of spinning to the inside of the turn, he actually spun to the outside of the turn and completely got clouded by Hugh Haycox there.
Looked like it didn't help that he did catch the tires first. Wonder if that just messed up his car enough that unfortunately sent him a little bit to the left, and then the turbo lag that you mentioned finished him off.
And while we were watching that, Franco Scurry once again into the wall he goes, this time out of the turn.
And as expected, Martin Krejcik does come into the pits now. Let's watch Scurry's replay. This has been a race to forget for the Italian.
Yeah, you're gonna see it, Scurry. He's gonna start to slide a little bit, and then, yeah, just the car never snapped back to the left there and just ever so slightly nosed it into the wall.
And he already had some big damage on the front before that. This is kind of adding to it as he takes out some more cones on his way back to what I expect is going to be a pit stop. Let's see. He stays to the inside. Is he coming on in? Yeah, he's coming in.
And that might be the day done for Franco Scurry, because he did take already the one fast repair these guys have.
I expect so. Mukanos has... well, when did Mukanos get into 3rd?
Pretty sure Justin Albrecht did pit a bit ago. Yes, he did. He is already 6 laps once again into his stint, so that explains why Albrecht is behind Mukanos, and Mukanos is in 3rd place.
We knew about that, but it was a battle for 4th before with Krejcik, when Krejcik came in. Olenek pitted a long time ago, so maybe I'm just getting myself confused here. But this is a battle for 3rd for sure right now on track between the 50 and the 83. And we know that Albrecht has speed. He is close as we look out the 007 cam, looking down Seaside Way. Not close enough as they break for turn 9. Should be a matter of time for Justin. Really no rush for him, as he was not under threat from Fabian Gerber for the lead. So probably not going to get jumped in the pit stops. He looks for a good exit off of the final hairpin. Look at the accordion effect between the cars, though. I've been noticing this, Steph. They can get so close through that hairpin that as soon as they get on the power, they pull way far apart from one another.
Yeah, that is the slow in, fast out, and Justin Albrecht tries to do it into turn 1, does so effectively, and is extremely well past Mukanos.
Boy, places his car perfectly. I thought he was going in too hot, but that number 83 Nissan was successful to get into 3rd place. Back onto the podium, just waiting for Linaloto and Gerber to pit for him to retake the lead from here. That is the car of Andrew Backey, who is now, who is still in 2nd rather, in the GTOs. He's not battling for position with anybody, so he just stays to the side and lets them through.
Next car for Albrecht will be the car of Tapani Linaloto, who is about 20 seconds ahead of Albrecht.
Linaloto again a little bit out of position based on strategy right now. Up in 2nd place. He still needs to take his stop. I believe. Actually, will he be fighting with Olenek? Or will he be overtaken by Olenek easily? here. It's about 50 seconds. No, not even 50 seconds. It's more like 35 seconds between Linelotto and Olenek, so I think Rob should easily get by him.
Did Olenek already stop?
Yes, he did indeed.
Ah,
Number of
that
laps
explains
ago.
it.
Well, wait a minute. Actually, Olenek's first stop, though, was 31 laps ago, I think. So I'm guessing he hasn't taken his scheduled stop yet. So
Are
Olenek
you
should still
sure
have to
about
go
that?
another time in.
My timing and scoring shows that he is on the stint number 38. So on my timing and scoring, he did not pit yet because we are now entering lap 39, and he is now also going to enter lap 39 on his fuel stint. For me, either way, doesn't matter. Tabani Linelotto, he most definitely will come out behind Rob Olenek.
To wait and see how this all plays out. We're past halfway now here in today's exhibition race at Long Beach. It is the Long Beach 90 Kamel GT Series for fun race, if you will. Just to celebrate week 13. Linelotto running second, trying to get back into this car and get comfortable once again. Again, he used to be a regular in this series. And Andrew Backey, second place driver in the GTOs. He is now in. His paint scheme apparently not to the taste of our director today. I still like it. I think it looks pretty cool. He's waiting for his fuel to finish up. Kuhn has since gone by.
And
Adam Lindgren has as well.
Linelotto into the pit lane. He goes now traversing pit lane all the way down to his pit stall. So we're now going to see where he comes out in regards to Rob Olenek.
Albrecht naturally going to easily get by. Wonder if we're getting to the end of the pit window for our prototypes here soon. Olenek's coming out of the hairpin now. Linelotto still stationary.
Easy
And
going
Olenek
past.
is going to go by, yeah.
Takes about a minute to traverse the pit lane here with the stop as Linelotto is still stationary. He's not taking tires. Seems to be the common thing here in the GTPs to not take tires, as he is gonna come out right behind Antonio Rodriguez, a GTO car. There's a few laps down.
Now we've got a battle going on between Lindgren and Kuhn, and I think he's going to get him. Yeah, he did. In fact, Kuhn clouded the wall a little bit on the exit of the hairpin. It's happened down the backstretch with a 3-wide moment. Not often you get those here at Long Beach. Tim Toika was trying to sneak by at the same time that pass was happening. There you see on screen.
Yeah, if you're not 3 wide, you're not trying hard enough in a multi-class. But yeah, Sadro now. Oh, Linelotto spun.
Oh, after his pit stop and everything, where did this happen?
That
Oh, he
is
got
out
some
of
help.
Turn 6, he's spinning on his own, then gets cluttered by Rodriguez. And Sadro very lucky to avoid contact because of neckcoat.
Watching the replay here. This is out of 5, and then happens, as you said, out of 6. I think that's Gerber just ahead of him as well.
There it is gonna come now, right on the turbo lag over the crest. It's gonna happen right there, clattered by Rodriguez, and then Sadro extremely lucky not get any damage from that.
Well, Linelotto certainly got some damage because he had to go right back into the pits just after his pit stop. There's going to be a lot of positions lost. This is Rodriguez's view. Yep. Would not have expected that to happen. There's no time to react at all. Rodriguez still running 6th in his class. just behind Andrew Backey, who finished his pit stop. Well, not just behind, it's about half a lap behind. Still waiting for a number of cars to come in for their pit stops. Gerber, our current leader, needs to take his. That'll hand the lead back over to Albrecht when he does. Mukanos, who is in third, needs to pit. Clayton McLeod as well. Ian Haycox hasn't. Our leader in the GTOs, Daniel Sadro, needs to come in. So does Darren Kuhn. In fact, let's head over to our leader here in the prototypes. Fabian Gerber, very familiar position for the number 16. Just cruising around for now, but he's going to have to come in eventually. Looks like a podium certainly should be on the cards for Fabian. Not without his own little bits of damage. You could see on the rear when he got touched by, I believe it was Toyka coming into turn 5 at one point. Certainly has his aero slightly compromised, but he's doing well in spite of it. Daniel Sadro as well. We saw maybe potential little bit of contact. We do know you can see the left front. He nudged it into the wall at one point. Although that was on the right front because that was turn 1.
And Joe, one thing I just realized with all the carnage we have seen involving GTO cars and with some cars pitting, like James King and Andrew Backey, we now have Adam Lindgren in second place for the GTO class, but being a full lap down on your leader Daniel Sadler.
Oof. Such is the difference, Ben. I think he's going to get that lap back once Sadro pits. Oof, he has to take it really wide down through the hairpin. And I don't think he's going to retain this second place, but I believe, will he be at least in 4th or 5th when it comes back around? Adam's done a phenomenal job returning to the fray. Taking a lot of inside curb coming through turn 1, but it's a gentle curb, so this car can handle it.
But yeah, Adam Lindgren being put into the wall in turn 1. He, as he said, a very phenomenal drive back, and I'm expecting him in somewhere in 4th or 5th place.
We had a big incident with Ian Haycock. Sorry, we need to get to a replay of the number 32. He managed to turn the car over, and you keep talking about this turbo lag. This looks like a worst case scenario for Ian. There you can see the results there.
And actually without help doing that, that is mighty impressive by Ian Haycox there.
On the throttle, and then on your lid.
On the throttle, on the bumps, on your lid, and out of the race. That's how you exit your race in style.
10 points for style, I suppose, as he sits in the pit lane. I think maybe he thinks he can get back out there. We'll see what the repairs can do. Darren Kuhn, another one that needs to take his pit stop. He continues on yet another lap in this 90-minute event on the podium. Again, he was fighting for position with Adam Lindgren, who needs to take his scheduled stop. Darren Kuhn. Oh, Darren Kuhn just hit the wall coming out of 4. And this was an embarrassingly slow run into the concrete.
Let's see. Coming into it and yeah, just outbrakes himself there and understeers into the wall.
It was a gentle touch, so maybe he was able to get away with it, even though it was on the corner. He's still going at speed. I said earlier that we had all of our prototypes on the lead lap. Now, it is a little bit mixed up because of the pit stops, but we only have 5 on the lead lap currently. Whoa, what? Who is that Hugh? That is Hugh Haycox. What a time he was having trying to get the car going.
Nearly doing the same thing as his father there. Yeah, very interesting approach to trying to exit the last turn. Not very successful at the speed, but very successful in points.
The car is already looking pretty beat up, so that certainly isn't helping him out as he takes it very close to the tires coming out of turn 5. Hugh Haycock's 10 laps down from our leaders.
You know, Joe, I'm starting to think that is the Long Beach aero upgrade for the GTPs, the way all of these cars are starting to look on the rear.
Extra downforce, extra drag, as Antonio Rodriguez takes his scheduled stop. That now leaves us with 2 of the GTOs who need to come in, Sadro and Kuhn. Sadro through the fountain section. You know, we'll often talk, Steph, about how we are a little bit sad that it doesn't seem like Long Beach is going to be finished. One thing that makes me sad about it is how beautiful would it be to see that fountain section all finished up and spouting water like they have at Detroit.
Oh, and seeing the sun go down over the skyscrapers of Long Beach. Yeah, I can totally see that, but sadly, we might not ever see this coming to iRacing because of how much they would have to update this track. iRacing is talking of having to completely rescan this track once again to make it happen for a real track on this service. Plus, on top of that, they would probably need to go there every 2 to 3 years to update the track again because of how much a city evolves in just such a short time.
Certainly. Now, Fabian Gerber, our temporary leader in the GTPs, has pitted, handing it back to Justin Albrecht. Mukanos also pitting behind him. This track really starting... Whoa, Rob Olenek just had a big moment coming out of the hairpin, very similar to what we saw with Hugh Haycox. Let's look at a replay on this one.
Yeah, it seems to look like that these guys are starting to go for the style points, winning it like that rather than on the track because they can't catch Justin Albrecht.
So we watch him continue on his way around just behind Fabian Gerber, but we believe Olenek needs another stop. So we can pull up this replay out of the hairpin. Need to back up just a little bit more here. Here it is. Manages not to turn the car over. Woo! But certainly gets close to that inside wall. You can see it shoot off to the right. So we come back live. He runs in third currently, just ahead of Clayton McLeod, another driver that needs to take a scheduled stop. Should be getting close for Rob having to come in, but he elects not to this time by. I'll tell you what, in spite of all his problems, if I'm looking correctly at our timing sheets, Teemu Toika is set to return to a podium position once Rob and Clayton pit.
That might actually happen. How much are they in front? Only 20. Yeah, you're right. They're only 23 seconds. Talking from Rob Olenek's point of perspective, he's only 23 seconds ahead of Teemu Toika right now. So yeah, once that has shuffled around, Teemu Toika once again back in third place.
And just to give you an idea of what kind of race that Justin Albrecht is running, here we see Toika running out of turn 5. Albrecht is just going into turn 1. He is close to lapping Teemu. And that is legitimate. Both have finished their pit stops. So Justin could lap the field all the way up to, but not including, the podium, the way things are going. Oh, and our leader is in. Sadro pits. So taking tires, no surprise there. Certainly seems like the drivers have been beating them up. The good news for them is that the temperatures have actually been going down, Steph. It's now 96 degrees on the track surface.
Yeah, it went down 4 degrees Celsius from 40 degrees Celsius to 36 now, or 96 degree Fahrenheit, that is. It's not gonna make too much of a difference as, oh, hey, Cooks and Kraytrick just came together.
Oh. Martin Kraytrick, unfortunately, having a little bit of a run-in with Ian. I think this was at the end of turn 9?
That was into turn 9 with Simo Raba. It seems like Simo Raba and Martin Kraytrick had a little bit of a miscommunication there on into turn 9. And yeah, Ian Haycock's not expecting that and running into the side of Kraytrick there, creating that very, very awkward situation between all three.
And as we come back live, Kraytrick just slammed the tires out of turn 1.
Oh, nearly.
And he seems to be, yeah, he's struggling. Big time.
Yeah, seems to be struggling with turn in there. Oh, Haycock spun!
There goes Haycock's again. I'm surprised that Ian is still going. We watch Ian, not going to be able to get the replay, it looks like, on that one, but just spun it out of turn 5, clipped the wall.
Speaking about spinning, you Haycock's back on track, spins it out of the last turn right into the pit lane entrance.
Oof, mid-corner, that thing just did not look happy. Absolutely smacked the concrete in that number 32. That keeps him in 8th position and pulls him farther away from Clayton McLeod. That completes all of our pit stops. No, it does not. Rob Olenek still needs to take a scheduled stop.
Yeah, and one thing I'm still not sure about is if Adam Lindgren is able to make it on fuel here. I'm pretty sure he still needs at least a splash and dash to get to the end of this race. But he still is in 2nd place, about 24 seconds ahead of James King.
If only we could have a way for Adam to give us a sign, such as some sort of wiggle or something down the front stretch that could tell us if he can make it on fuel. We are getting information from Adam that he cannot make it on fuel, so he needs to make another stop. So he will certainly not retain this 2nd place, although he is well ahead of James King.
But the thing is, he will be once again behind James King once his pit stop is done. He won't need much fuel, but the pit lane transition is just so long and so slow that he's gonna lose that 2nd place for sure to James King and Andrew Back, because Back is just about 5.5 seconds behind James King.
Yeah, we're waiting for the time and it's scoring to catch up. Lina Luoto has exited the race, and so it's a little screwy right now as the drivers have to cycle through to give us the timing. So let's go to Olenek, who has finally come in for his stop. That's going to hand 3rd back to Timu Toika. Fat Timu just never gives up. And he gets back onto the podium. Where is Mukanos? Is Mukanos going to get Olenek here?
And interestingly, Darren Kuhn is entering pit lane for a 2nd time.
Ooh, that's not good. Especially after it was looking like he was going to get himself a 3rd place. Now, Olenek is rolling, but Mukanos is going to go by.
Yeah, still on the pit limiter here. Cones coming up. Now there he goes off the limiter and onto racing speed once again. Next car would be Krejcik, but Krejcik over 11 seconds behind Olenek.
I think actually Olenek jumped him in the pit stops. Krejcik having come in about 18 laps ago.
Now
So
the
that-
timing scoring caught up. It's 5.5 seconds show between the two.
So Rob doing a good job using his pace with clear air, at least when he's not dealing with traffic such as this. Going by Daniel Sadro, our leader in the GTOs.
I really wonder what Olenek can do compared to Nicolas Moukanos. It is only 10 seconds right now between the two, and on top of that, Olenek is faster. The fastest lap time's only 4/10 between them, but I'm pretty sure that right now in the race on the pace, Olenek faster than Moukanos by a bit more than half a second.
Yeah, not many drivers faster than Olenek. Timu Toika, Gerber, and Albrecht are the only ones who have set faster laps than him, and they are all on the podium. So Rob looking to get one more down in Nick Moukanos in the number 50. Still waiting on Lindgren to pit. Believe James King has... Nope, James King has been out for 33 laps. Is he... No, actually, he's already... he should be able to go to the end, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
We only have 20 minutes to go, yeah.
Ian Haycock's in the pit lane right now. So he is once again serving a little bit of damage repair to his car.
Ian's been having a little bit of a miserable day. Both the Haycockses probably, who are both actually in the pits currently, wanting to forget this one. Family debrief, certainly not going to be the cheeriest.
Now, the biggest question of this race that we still have left open is Adam Lindgren. Not if he has to pit, but when he has to pit, as he once again goes past the pit lane. 51 laps now into this stint, actually just 50 because he had to pit lap 1 for a fast repair.
I mean, the good news is ever since that fast repair, that Audi has been singing the 425 just on a great pace, but he's been having to overcome some awful odds. And we get a real idea of where he sits once the pit stop is done. He's got 20 minutes left to go here in this race to find the checkered flag.
The car behind him is the GTP of Nicolas Moukanos, nearly running to the back of Lindgren because of the mistake he's making, running nearly into the tire barrier himself.
Let's watch this from the perspective of the number 50. And he has reason to be hustling. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, just didn't expect to catch him that quickly on the exit of the corner. Reason he needs to hustle is the number 21, Rob Olenek, now about 9.5 seconds back. What are their laps like compared to one another? I wonder if we could get a pit comparison, or not a pit comparison. Lap
Olenek
comparison.
into pit lane.
Oh, well then. And this is pit number 3 for Rob, is it not?
I wonder why he is pitting though. That is very awkward.
Yeah, not sure what's caused this. I don't think he hit anything. The car looks pretty clean. Not enough fuel to the end. Maybe he miscalculated. Oh, he's in there for a long time.
12, 13 seconds, 14, 15 seconds. So, yeah, that was a speeding in pits penalty. 16.2 seconds is the standard stop for a speeding in pits.
And that cost him positions, multiple positions. Krejcik went by and McLeod went by, and he is nowhere near to try and run them down unless they run into trouble from here. Rob Olenek making that critical error late in the race during his pit stop.
Now, the next battle that we might be able to focus on in due time is Andrew Back versus James King for the third place in that GTO as Adam Lindgren pits now, so that is going to switch to P2. But what I want to say is Becky is closing in on James King for that second place.
That'll be a nice little fight between those two. As we watch the very multicolored number 24. They have really no threat from behind. Darren Kuhn is well back there, about a lap down. Simo Raba also taking a pit stop currently, but I think everybody should be able to go to the end now because we've got Adam Lindgren finally in the pits and coming out, and he will return in 4th place.
Yeah, and he is not all that far behind Becky. Only seems to be about 8.5 seconds as he has to let, who was that, Olenek past. Yeah, 8.5 seconds is what my timing and scoring shows between Becky and Lindgren.
A bit of bad traffic could bring them together, even though it's only 16 minutes left on the clock. What does Adam have underneath him at this final bit of the race? And can Becky as well run down James King? Certainly if Andrew catches James King, then that'll slow those two up if they start fighting, and that'll give Adam an even better chance.
It's now only 6.5 seconds between Becky and James King. 6.2 seconds make that on the live timing. Adam Lindgren with having to let Olenek pass. There we go. He lost 2 seconds with that, so it's actually 10.5 seconds between himself and Becky, but Becky most definitely closing in James King last lap, 0.8 faster than the second place driver.
Andrew's car sporting what just about every car out here has, which is some damage. It's looking a little bit more like Bristol instead of a road course race. With not many being able to come away with a spick and span car. It's just been brutal on this punishing street circuit.
Adam Lindgren in this lap alone closed in the gap 1 second on a Becky, so Lindgren on a mission.
Certainly is. I think this is going to be thrilling if he can manage to track him down before all is said and done.
On top of that, now very bad traffic for Becky on turn 8, losing himself another second to both James King and Adam Lindgren.
I'm looking forward to this one. Pit stops are done though, and that means it's time to do the rundown through the field. Let's go through the top 5 here in our prototypes with our leader starting first, Justin Albrecht, the number 83. Put it on pole, managed to get to the first corner first, and hasn't looked back since. Now, he did get spun around at one point. He was challenged, of course, by Riku Alatalo for much of the early laps, but Riku came in mysteriously into the pits, came out immediately behind Justin, and some lap traffic caused him to get into the back of the 83, spinning him around. He didn't lose the lead, kept it going, and has been solidly in front. Second place is Fabian Gerber, the longtime rival for Justin Albrecht at this point. But Fabian not leading this time, despite a dominating championship this last time through. He's looking at this exhibition race to just capture a podium. Third place goes to Timu Toika, another one that was unlikely and unexpected here to finish this high up. Not without a little bit of damage you can see on the right rear of that orange Nissan. He has dealt with a lot of action out on track, has hit the wall multiple times, but is still going in spite of it all. Nick Mukanos looked like he might have some trouble behind him after the pit stops, but Rob Olenek's penalty put him back. So Nick currently cruising around in that 4th place with nobody nearby to worry about now, just outside of the podium. Instead, in 5th place, it is Martin Krejcik back there, another driver with a lot of action happening throughout this race. He is rounding out our top 5 and is looking to just take this to the checkered flag. Let's go to the GTOs for the top 5 down there.
Well, talking about big gaps, Justin Albrecht over Fabian Gerber, nothing compared to what Daniel Sadler has over James King. It's a full lap between the two of them and then some. But yeah, apart from the lap 1 kerfuffle, we have seen Daniel Sadler so far so clean, so easy for him, managing his tires, managing his car, managing the traffic to a very great extent thus far. But behind, it is gonna close in ever so faster. James King, second place, only a few seconds, about 4.6 seconds now, over third place of Andrew Backey, who most definitely looks to close into James King by the end of this race. Both of them so far running into quite some trouble throughout these 1.5 hours of racing. Adam Lindgren, the fourth place driver, the Total Downforce Racing driver, he is the fastest car of that 3-car fight that we're expecting soon. 7.8 seconds now behind Andrew Backey and closing in by about a second to a half a second each lap as he just now gets overtaken by Nicolas Mucanos. Rounding out your top 5 positions, that's Darren Kuhn. Also a full lap down on Adam Lindgren, so the top 5 in the GTO field covered by a full 2 laps right now. Darren Kuhn, the number 12 car, he also had a very clean race thus far, staying out of trouble, keeping his car very clean as you can see there. And yeah, so far, very much paid off for him.
As you can tell by those gaps, this field is rather spread out. Even in the prototypes, only 3 are on the lead lap. Mucanos and Krajcik down the lap from Albrecht. But in spite of that, the GTO certainly got a battle brewing. King and Backey getting closer and closer to each other, as well as Backey and Lindgren closing in. So cars coming together, which could give us an exciting finish in these final 10 minutes of the Kamel GT Long Beach 90. Where you see James King desperately hoping to hold on to this second place as he hopefully isn't watching that F3 box too closely, but can see the numbers coming down and down.
Last lap back, he chewed away 4/10 of the lead of James King, but behind Adam Lindgren, he was once again about 3/10 faster than Backey, but Lindgren did get lapped at once, so yeah, expected to be a little bit slow, but now it get interesting. Ian Haycock's ahead of Backey, and then right behind him, Nicolas Mucanos.
This is where King has to hope that the traffic is kinder to him than it is to Backey. Mucanos manages to get through before turn 6, so that really doesn't slow down Backey at all. Unfortunate for King.
Yeah, and much more unfortunate for King Joe is that Simo Raba just a few meters ahead of him, so he might also get slowed down by the lap traffic of Simo Raba.
And Backey's close enough that he can see him down some of these long straights now. Down Seaside Way, down Shoreline Drive, he's getting glimpses of James King, and we know what psychologically that can do to a driver to now see their prey ahead of them. Down into turn 1, still Simo Raba not letting James King by. Oh, now he goes a little bit wide, and that's going to compromise James King through the exit of the corner. He manages to get through without any sort of incident, but that was not the fast way through.
Yeah, meanwhile, Andrew Backey only about actually Backey was slower that lap by half a second, so James King did do very well, as I think Ian Haycock's spun again out of turn 5.
Yep, we just caught him in the background. Don't need the replay really on this one. It's almost a carbon copy of what we saw before with the rear swap sides. Oh, this time though, Haycock's on his recovers just as we leave him, runs it into the wall, and this should be day over for the Brit. We stay on Andrew Backey. He continues to chase down James King. It is 5.5 seconds between them. They come onto the front stretch. And there was an awkward change of positions with Raba and King. What about with Raba and Backy? He approaches down into turn one. This is looking very similar. Is he going to pull the same move? Try to let him through on the exit of the corner. Oh, he's going wide, and he's going way too wide, and Raba's into the tires. Well, his efforts to try and be helpful seems to have backfired for the number 99.
Just a tiny little bit as he gets moving again. We go to the replay to show you once again how that happened with Raba. Seems to be just not too late on the brake, but a little bit too light, trying to run wide for Andrew Backy, and goes ever so slightly into tire wall.
Well, that frees up Andrew with nothing between himself and second place now. No traffic, no lapped Audis, no Nissans. He's got a clear view up ahead to the number 23. Oof. Late on the brakes, though. He's pushing. Look at him squirming as the car gets woed up.
Yeah, and it really shows on my timing and scoring, because my timing and scoring has clocked Andrew Backy last lap with a 23-second lap.
This time around, Andrew with a 20.9. James King with a 21.9. Whew.
Yeah, full
He's a-comin'.
second, and Adam Lindgren only 20.964, so he didn't even gain anything on a Backy that lap. Really shows how well Backy managed that one. And it's only 3.8 seconds now between King and Backy, while Lindgren is still 6.9 seconds behind third place driver.
Both drivers pushing incredibly hard. We didn't see it on screen, but King brushed the inside of the fountain as he came through the fountain section, taking it all the way to the limits just to try and get himself away from Andrew. But to quote the internet for James King, oh Lord, he coming. Andrew Backy is not holding back for anybody. And appropriately, it'll be the number 23 versus the number 24 in these final 5 minutes.
And they're getting chased down by the number 425.
Adam, you're messing up the pattern here.
Just a little bit.
We're not missing anything for the prototypes, by the way, as we continue to focus on this battle. And the GTOs, they're still all very far apart from one another. Albrecht leads, Gerber's second, Toyka is third, and all the podiums still on the lead lap. As we watch Adam Lindgren, still about 7 seconds back. This is looking like too little too late, unfortunately, for the 425. Unless we get second and third battling.
Sorry, it is getting interesting though. Andrew Backy last lap 20.7, James King 20.77, and Adam Lindgren with a 20.2. Only car faster than him was actually Daniel Sadler with a 19.5. So Adam Lindgren putting down the foot, but Backy and King putting enough on their throttle too to not get closed down by Lindgren fast enough to be able to do something as of this point.
Yeah, I think this is the first time in a while we've seen James King suddenly look at his timing and scoring and realize, uh-oh, I got to hustle here. So the number 23 now trying desperately to see if he can hold Backy behind him, this time by King with a 20.6. So he's definitely picked up the pace. So has Backy, though, 20.5. Unfortunately, it's not quite fast enough that he can chase down King.
20.3 for Adam Lindgren, still 6.5 seconds behind Backy. So yeah, it's starting to look more and more like these guys will, sadly for us, not meet on the track for a last lap shootout.
I'll tell you what, though, Adam was very hot into turn one, way off the apex. So what he may have gained, he may have just lost as well. This is our leader overall, Justin Albrecht, 22 seconds himself ahead of second place, Fabian Gerber. Even though it's a longer race, it is not often we see someone outpace Fabian Gerber in this fashion.
Yeah, and Albrecht crossing the line with 3 laps to go, a minute and 13 roughly the lap time he is putting in, meaning he is gonna cross the start finish line for the last time with about 30 seconds remaining.
Daniel Sadro as well coming through the first corner. I'm checking in on King once again to see what his lap time, 20.8, a little bit slower. Well, Backy crosses and runs a 20.6, so 2/10 quicker for Backy. Another 2/10. Oh, no, it's slower actually. Lindgren must have been caught out by some traffic or had some issues. That was a 22.4, so he falls back down to 8.5 behind.
Yeah, with that, we can most definitely count Adam out of that fight. 8 seconds, he's not gonna catch that under normal circumstances up to Andrew Backy.
2 laps to go for Albrecht. He just started another lap himself. As we watch Lindgren work his way through turn 6. The question is, will they be separated? No, I guess not. I was going to say, are they going to be separated by Justin Albrecht? He's not too far behind, but I don't think he's going to catch that battle in time to separate them. Love the way that we can tell the live speed of these cars now. As you can see, climbing upwards and upwards, even on the backstretch, almost 160 miles an hour for Justin Albrecht. And on the front stretch, they nearly reach 170. On a street course, that is flying. As he comes out of the hairpin to take the white flag, 90 minutes of racing is looking like it will elicit a win for Justin Albrecht. This effectively going to be a victory lap for what has been a dominating performance.
167 miles per hour, 260 kilometers an hour for Justin Albrecht there into the turn 1 braking zone.
Just incredible speeds around here. Justin now out of turn 5 and into turn 6. As we watch Sadro as well come around to start his final lap. The clock now down to 0. As we go to the number 83. This is a good way to take the offseason for a driver that is looking to challenge the one well behind him on the track. One more corner left to go before the checkered flag around the famous hairpin and down to the line. It is victory today for Justin Albrecht. Sadro as well has about half a lap to go. And it is going to be one last lap for King and Backy to settle out the third place. But Andrew's fallen back. He's just over 3 seconds behind James King.
Yeah, he has caught very bad traffic in the last 2 laps, making himself slower than James King as Daniel Sadro entering the turn 9, 10, 11 complex.
Daniel Sadro, a lap up on the rest of the field. We talked about this feeling reminiscent to those old school races. That certainly will do it. Sadro gonna lap, actually, Krejcik slows, but victory here today for Daniel Sadro. And second place gonna go to James King, who accelerates off the final corner, tantalizingly close to Backy, but still Andrew got to be happy recovering that third position. Same thing with Adam Lindgren, who himself going to be just off the podium. Remember, the setbacks he had early in the race allow him a nice 4th place as he destroys the car because he doesn't need any more across the line here today. That's going to be pretty much the last of our field. So with that, we'll take a quick break here at Long Beach. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around. here while we have all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Long Beach. We just witnessed Week 13's exhibition race for the Kamel GT series. It is the Long Beach 90, and it was Justin Albrecht who wound up taking the victory from the pole. He had a little bit of pressure early, but he withstood it, even got spun at one point, and still managed to finish 22 seconds ahead of the rest. Fabian Gerber with a second place. The multi-time champion has something to think about coming into the next season. Timu Toika recovering to a third place despite hitting the wall multiple times, being spun and having all kinds of actions. Behind him, it was Nick Mukano's first car lap down and taking fourth. Martin Krejcik with a top 5 for him as well, also a lap down. Clayton McLeod, 6th behind them. Rob Olenek could have been fighting with Mukanos, but in the end, he had to settle for 7th because of an extra pit stop due to what we believe is a speeding penalty. And that takes us to the GTOs. Steph?
Yeah, Daniel Sadro, starting from 19th overall, finishes in 8th overall. They're also a full lap ahead of James King, second place in the GTOs. Andrew Pack taking home third place for himself, which I think is the best result he has seen in the GTO class thus far. Adam Lindgren, fourth place, went to him. Darren Kuhn completes the top 5 in the GTOs, but already 2 laps down on Adam Lindgren, 3 laps down in total on Daniel Sadro. Simuraba, also a car to finish, and also the last car to finish in the GTO field in 13th place overall.
And you get to our drivers who DNF today. Ian Haycox, 14th. Hugh Haycox, I believe, actually finished the race, but he finished in 15th, way down the order. Antonio Rodriguez in the GTOs, 16th. Tapani Linoluoto, what could have been for him? He takes 17th. Alberto Moreno in 18th. Franco Scurry down in P19th, and Yari Lotari in 20th. The next and last few, Heitor Sintes Guindo retired very early, 21st. Julio Furcolin, 22nd. Riku Alatalo clearly had the speed, but was not consistent. For some reason, had an extra pit stop that we're not sure why. He finishes 23rd. Reed Miller taken out early, 24th. James Stone, Gabriel Linini were did not starts for today. First up, we are going to be talking to our winner in the GTOs, Daniel Sadro. Steph, let's get an interview with our winner for today.
Yeah, and Daniel, describe lap 1, turn 1 to us in however many words you need.
I don't know if I need words. I think screaming and shrieking would be appropriate. I I do not know how I survived through it. But obviously, once the first lap was done, it was much clearer. Unfortunately, for how that all happened.
Yeah, but from that, you just build up a commanding lead and never looked back, winning by a full lap, which is pretty much the first thing ever that we have seen in the Kamel GT series, that someone did win by such a big margin.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned in the chat after the race that I might have been the only person to have had no issues, and that was, I mean, aside from I think I touched Reed in the fountain when he was stationary, and I didn't expect him on that first lap. But yeah, I was very fortunate to have not gotten involved with anybody else's, and the whole race was just about driving. Keeping off the walls as much as I could, and trying to communicate with the Nissans as best I could. Made a few mistakes there, but tried overall to be as good of a road, not a road hog as I could be, I should say.
Next season is soon to be upon us. Now, will you be racing? And if you will, how are you looking forward to next season, the Kamel GT series?
Yeah, I absolutely plan to do a full at least 8 weeks. I don't know. They might have to miss a couple of them already, I know, but I'm very much looking forward to it. I really do enjoy driving the Audi. It's just it's a beast, and it's fun to drive, and I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Well, Daniel, thanks for talking to us, and once again, congrats on your first place finish.
Thanks. Have a good one, guys.
Daniel Sadler there talking to us once again in this Week 13 special event. But now, Joe Peak talking to Fat Timo.
Yep, one of our podium finishers and last on the lead lap in the GTPs. Timu, you were second towards the start of the race after we had the problems with Riku Alatalo. But then suddenly you had your first of, shall we say, multiple encounters with the track limits around here. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I guess it would have helped if I came in with a little more preparation, but yeah, I think I spent the first few laps with getting familiar with the track, and then I started to push more and more, and then I saw Riku pitted, and after the race I asked, and he said that he forgot qualifying fuel in, and that's unfortunate for him, but that lifted me to second place, and then just stupid mistakes. First, I crashed coming out of the turn 5, I think, and I think Lohtari and was it Gerber came past me, and then I was trying to hang on to them, and then they tangled with a flapped car, and I got even some more damage. And yeah, after that, the car was pretty slow on straights, and I was losing time heavily. And
Go ahead.
yeah, and then just before the pit stop, I tangled with Mukanos, and yeah, that's that was a hard hit for me to limp back to the pits.
It looked like a pretty exhausting race. I mean, what was it like having to deal with the traffic out there? Was this pretty reminiscent of Detroit for you?
Yeah, it was pretty tough, especially with my self-inflicted damage. It was pretty hard to pass people on the straights, and then the braking points were so narrow that you couldn't really dive into the corners, and I really don't want to do any desperate moves so early into the race, especially before the first pit stop. And yeah, it was definitely a factor. I was just trying to take it easy because I knew that there are going to be some casualties.
Certainly. Well, thanks for coming and talking to us, and congratulations on managing the podium. It looked like it was a tough one today. I assume we'll see you next season?
I'll try to arrange it. I can't promise anything, but I'd love to do some more Nissan.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to you out on the track and your Bush Fink paint scheme. That was our third place finisher, Timu Toika. And up next, I believe we've got second in the GTO. Steph is going to be talking to James King.
And you heard it here first. Timo Toika promising he's going to be racing next season. James King, second place, not trouble-free. Talk us through your point of view of the lap 1, turn 1 incident that we saw with the GTO and GTP classes there.
Yeah, it was a little bit interesting. I definitely didn't expect to be coming out of turn 1 right at the front of the field. The yellow flag popped up, and it sort of said, "Oh yeah, this car stops on the right." So I got a bit careful, backed off as much as I could, and then just managed to squeeze through everything and go on from there.
That wasn't, though, your only interesting incident that you witnessed, because we also saw you tumbling down the front stretch because of the incident with, I think I was Albert Moreno. Talk us through that one. That was also very sudden.
Yeah, he dropped it on the throttle coming out of the hairpin, and I saw him, spear off to the right, and I thought, okay, my chance here, go left, squeeze through the gap, and I should be safe. And then, as cars always do in iRacing, he comes back across and sent me to the skies. But yeah.
still, second place, although it be a lap down on Daniel Sedru, still must feel a very great accomplishment there.
Yeah, I mean, after this track obviously doesn't come up very often in anything, and it's a challenge. I don't drive the Audi very often. In the past, I've always been in the Nissan for anything Kamel related. So this was actually my first race in this car, and to get on the podium, especially to be second, feels great.
Well, next season coming up very soon. Are we gonna see you again in Kamel GT?
We'll see. If I can get comfortable with this car, then I can definitely see myself showing up, work permitting as well, of course.
So that is a promise that if you show up, you're gonna show up in the GTO?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Well, James, thank you for talking to us, and congrats once for second place.
Thank you very much.
Next up, Joe Peak, I guess, talking to Adam Lindgren. Yes, very much.
Just off the podium. Unfortunately, looked like that could have maybe been possible, but just not there. Adam, talk to us about the start, as you were one of the cars involved in that unfortunately fell victim to it.
Yeah, we started off and we started actually quite slow. It looked like we were Daniel was a little bit afraid to get going. So was Reed, and they're both going a little slow into turn one. And then we saw the yellow flag pop up, and there was a GTP parked on the inside, and Reed dodged to the right, and that just sent the car ahead of me into the wall, and I hit the back of him. I had a ton of damage. Tried to get out, but then past the fountain, I think a Nissan GTP spun into me and flipped me over, so I had to take a tow. But then from that point on, I was doing good.
Certainly put you on the back foot. What did you do? Like, what kind of goals did you set yourself in the car to try and make something of this race? Because obviously you had to take that tow, which puts you behind, and now you also have no spare car left after lap one, so you're sort of under the gun.
Well, Reed and I had about a second on the field in practice and in qualifying, so I just decided that, I could probably get some positions back on track, and then with the amount of attrition that I was expecting, because these walls are not soft and they're very close, I just decided that it'd be a good time to just go out there and see what I could get. And as I was passing people and making my way up into the top five, it was actually surprising. The car was handling really well, so I want to give a shout out to to the man who's not here right now, Phil, in and around the lake. He provided a really good setup for everybody that he put in the forums for us to use, and so I hopped in that thing, and really it just took off.
Certainly did. It was an impressive run back up to a top five. Speaking of things not being soft, we got Sebring for the first round. That is going to be a rough one to kick things off. What are your goals for that TDR car coming in?
Well, the goals would just be to keep it on track. Getting off tracks at Sebring really loses you a lot of time. You got to manage yourself with the GTPs as well, because they can go through the corners a lot faster than we can. So you just have to be aware of whether or not the GTP is aware of your cornering speeds and what kind of room you need. And if they're not, you just got to be ready to take evasive action. Luckily, there's a little bit of runoff in the twisty bits at Sebring, so there's space to run. So yeah, I mean, it's a challenging race course, but I had some success there in the majors, so I expect to do well there as well.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you race once again, and congratulations on the recovery back to fourth.
Thank you.
That was Adam Lindgren, fourth in the GTO class today. But that closes us out with our interviews. We expected it to be a rough race, and we got one. 12 out of 24 starters managed to see the checkered flag. And in the end, this street course proves itself to be incredibly rough on cars. But a big thank you goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast here on the Global Sim Racing channel. If you look on your screen, you can see each of them there. But additional thanks also go out to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Steph, Sean, and Doug. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media, with our Twitter being at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. As we mentioned, next week the season kicks off proper. That'll be the first round at Sebring, Saturday, September 14th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.